Greetings and God bless. Recently, I took Greyhound and I just wanted to share some observations. It seems like people who are in need go to Greyhound to get help from passengers. And I mean, it appears that local resources of local shelters or whatever somehow don't accommodate or have something that works for these people. And I observed what I'm thinking are cons. Um, there was one lady. So everybody has their emotional support pet. That's something I noticed. People who are homeless, mentally ill, and or addicted have their emotional support pet. And so these animals, you see that they're, like I was stranded a couple different times. And there was this one lady, the dog was eating bugs that were on the floor because I think the dog was hungry. Like the lady, I mean, I don't know, we were there like 10 hours or something. And it's just like these these folks who are in need, they need something that will love them. These mentally ill homeless people who are addicts. So this dog it's the only thing that loves them. I mean, if we're honest. And these people, they don't necessarily have a proper leash. They don't train the dog properly. The dog is, I think, subjected to animal abuse in some instances. And like it appears that some dogs, to me, like their ribs weren't showing, but I think they're underfed because these human beings who are so out of it, so mentally ill, they're not even feeding themselves properly, and they're not feeding the animals. So what that does though is, so when these people who are bedraggled and they're wrecked by their lifestyle, but they have a cute animal, so this cute animal gives them attention, gives them sympathy, and people want to help, if only to help the animal. And this one lady was saying how her family doesn't care for her, doesn't love her, doesn't provide for her. But these people, some of these people are very entitled. There's like, I'm not saying they're bad people, and I think they're actually very capable. Some of these homeless people are very, I mean, if you just gave them a suit of clothes and a job working for a Fortune 500 company, they would be your best salespeople. Um, so they're very capable and they can be productive, and they are productive in their own way. But I've just got some thoughts. Like, so this lady, she said that she had been bitten by a brown recluse around her eye. So I gave her some homeopathic cream. Now, for me, it was an expensive buy, but I'm like, okay, she got bit by a brown recluse on her eye, around her eye. Let me give her this cream. She only used it once. We were in the same area for like, I don't know, 10 hours, and she never used it again. And so I'm like, dang it, I gave her this expensive thing that she's not going to use. She I don't know if she wanted her eye to be swollen because it creates more sympathy, so she gets people give her more money. Maybe she's so spaced out that she won't remember it. Um, so I want to, like, so people are con artists, and they go to Greyhound to con nice people like you and me. And if you've got money to burn, if you can afford giving whatever away, those people need it. Um, but if you're on a budget, you know, I'm just trying to think of like what, because there's so much need. Like it's August 2023 and there's so much poverty and pathos that's been engineered by the globalists or whoever. So the people on the bus are so it's like 35%, I would say, were Mexicans who did not know one word of English. They had absolutely no comprehension of English. And so they were expecting the bus driver to speak Spanish. They were expecting me to speak Spanish. They were expecting everybody to speak Spanish. I don't know. You know, I guess we all, I don't know. I don't know. I mean, I guess they're told everybody speaks Spanish in America. And honestly, I have not found that to be the case. I don't notice everybody speaking Spanish in America. And so anyways, um so that's a large percentage. And then you have the people who are just released from jail. So there's this kind of sketchy, like, you know, like, okay, are we going to be safe? And then we have then there's like a one or two kind of studenty kind of person, and maybe one or two like little ladies or whatever. And then there's the whacked out people that, they're doing their jaw thing and twitching and um, just really just destroyed people. At least when you look at them, they're a wreck. And so they're creating this ruckus. They're yelling or something's going on. Uh, and yeah, everybody needs to get somewhere, and I don't begrudge them, um, but people go to con you at Greyhound. So so these people have dogs who are milking it for sympathy. It seems to be, in my opinion. Not all of the people with dogs are trying to milk sympathy, but I think some are. And I think if anybody wants to do a really good ministry, go to a Greyhound station, day or night. I mean, I would say, your ministry would probably be most effective, um, like at 10 at night or whatever, because that's when people have been stranded. It seems like Greyhound makes a career of stranding people. And so, and then like the homeless people go to hang out at Greyhound. The drug dealers seem to go to hang out at Greyhound. I don't know. Like there's all these men who walk around, and they appear lucid, but their pants are hanging off their butt. They even have a belt. What is up with that? Anyways, so there's this one guy walking back and forth, back and forth, showing his underwear. You know, I just and then there's men who are looking for something, like and like yeah, looking for a relationship, looking for like a woman who has no direction and trying to manipulate that a woman into marriage or relationship or something like that. And the thing is, when you're stranded at Greyhound, that you're kind of there's that phrase about when you have a captive audience. So these con artists go to Greyhound to have a captive audience, and the context of Greyhound helps people be more chatty because somebody's been there for 4 hours. It's like a kind of almost brainwashing kind of a thing, because you've just been like on the bus for 12 hours and you've got a 4 hour or 10 hour layover, and so your defenses are down, and that's where the con artists go. So there's the con artist with the dog trying to get sympathy for whatever their injury, and it's messed up because there are people who really have an injury. There's people who really need help. These con artists are making it bad for the sincere person, because now I'm like, I'm not I'm not going to trust, like a lady with an eye patch and talking about how she has all this stuff for her dog, but she doesn't feed the dog. or at least it didn't appear to be, and the dog was eating bugs. Um, so it's really sad, and maybe I'm just slow to the party, and everybody knew this already, but um, it's unfortunate. Like I don't think like um, airlines are as sketchy, or even Amtrak, but it seems like our country has been disintegrating, and so I think the con artists don't have as easy pickings anymore, or something like that. And what's so messed up is these con artists are going to the poor people that can barely afford to travel, and they know to con poor people, because poor people know what it is to suffer. And what bugs me though is when these con artists have a better quality of life than the poor person that they're exploiting, like that kind of, when they're able to get their hair done, or I mean, I think to have a pet is a luxury, like where they have such a big ego that they're able to, just demand the world give them everything on their terms. Like this one lady, that was saying, who she was like, her parent, her family should take care of her. Some of these people are homeless or whatever because they have such insufferable personalities. I guess it would be a personality disorder, because some of these people are so entitled and so selfish and so antisocial that they're just expecting their parents to pay for everything. Somebody to just pay for everything, let them do everything that they want to do. I can't do everything I want to do. My friends can't do everything they want to do. Like, you know, good people cannot do everything they want to do, even if it's legal, because that's just not how the world works. But there's these maybe psychotic people who consider themselves a victim, and they expect everybody to take care of them. Now, I mean, I know I expect my friends to help me out. I expect, like a friend to hear me sound out ideas and stuff like that, and maybe, chat or whatever. And I know I can be maybe a burden, or demanding or whatever, but um there's these uh people with whose ego are so big. Their ego is so big, and nothing, just like, so they just can't fit in. They refuse to fit in, and they expect everybody else to accommodate them. And honestly, if somebody is going to be that way, they really should be homeless, because it's not the world's responsibility to provide for an entitled jerk, because the entitled jerk just wants to, smoke dope and be taken care of. Like that's a terrible thing. Like that's not a good society. And then there was this one lady who she was like crying, 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 and just full of this drama. And she was like, "I have cancer. I need help. Please pay for my bus ticket, or help me get a bus ticket." And she's like, "My family can't afford it." Like, and this lady was like a beautiful woman, like well spoken, and uh, and yeah, she was ill, but it was just it was just so strange. Like, and she didn't, like, a parent, like one person was saying, yeah, the city has funding, if to give you a ticket anywhere if you have a destination. But the lady wanted um the poor people who are taking Greyhound, because that's the majority of who's taking Greyhound. It's not people who have an extra $300 to give to some stranger. So I mean, I'm wondering if the lady was a heroin addict or something like that. And she just wanted hundreds of dollars somehow magically to come to her because she has cancer. I don't know, but um, but she didn't want to go to the city to get a bus ticket, even though apparently it could have been done for free. But she was just sitting there crying, 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 expecting somebody to pay for her bus ticket, like on her terms, even though it seemed like the city would have paid for it. Just doing this weird manipulative guilt thing. So I've taken Greyhound a fair amount of times in my life. I started taking Greyhounds when I was 16. And I would say like it is the weirdest now that I can recall. And I think it's a sign of the times. I think it's a sign of just too much legalized drug use, honestly. Like that was another thing. The When we were pulling into Denver, these two guys were like, haha, yeah, we're gonna go get high, it's so great. Like what is going on? Like people, number one, can get high anywhere. I mean, people have been getting high all every coast, I mean, it, but it seems like Denver is so like their identity is about being high, being on drugs. And what comes with drugs, even if it's legalized now, but it's still criminal. It's not a good thing. It's not, you do not want your child, even though it's legal to do drugs, you don't want your child to do drugs. You don't want your husband to be doing drugs. But I think like people in Denver, some are like, oh, it's my right to, and I am a bit of a libertarian, but from what I have observed the past nearly year I've been here, I'm like, this legalizing drugs is the worst thing that you can do. Maybe it works in other countries, but it does not work in America because we are under some type of warfare. Like, and drugs is one of the major weapons against people. And I think it's especially against men, but it's definitely affecting women as well. Um, but yeah, I find it repellent how proud people in Denver are of being a drug center, because with drugs come prostitution and other bad things. It's just, and I've seen those things here. So yeah, I just wanted to kind of put this out there that there's a lot of con artists that lurk around Greyhound and that are taking Greyhound. Like they may have a destination they go to. Like one thing I noticed is there were a lot of people who were looking for work. They just got fired. They were homeless, just got out of the hospital, of course, got out of prison or jail. And of course, that large percentage of illegals. Um, so yeah, and yet the cons will go to shake down, whoever the 3% of people who are not criminals or illegals or just out of the hospital. Nothing personal against people who have been incarcerated and stuff like that, but um, yeah, it's just uh, and there was like some nice people, like super nice um, people riding the bus that that like and they get targeted. And I get targeted, um, and yeah, it's just like the con artists can read who's the nice person, who's going to have good manners, and they exploit that nice person with good manners. Um, and I mean, it's great if you're fine with that. But there's just some people I was actually like a little worried about because there's some people who are really naive and vulnerable and sweet that you know uh, just seem like, I don't know, just seem like it's not safe. But I don't know, maybe things seem harder than they, or seem worse than it actually is. But I just am making an observation that there has been a decline in the Greyhound experience, and I think it's a result of the engineered collapse of our culture. Um, that just people are they're coming to see what they can get out of other bus riders. And, I think it's great to chat, make friends, exchange ideas. And if you have an abundance of something and you like to share it, I think that's great. I have an abundance of, like, I'd love to help with brainstorming career stuff or brainstorming health stuff. And I have a lot of value to offer. And maybe somebody is like a pen salesman, and so they want to, distribute pens. Like, here's the pen, and this is my company. Like, I think that's great, but really, um, just trying to warn people that folks like, and these like Mexicans, they are expecting you to kind of pave the way, or that they get to go first, and something else. They don't have to show ID. Like, it's becoming clear that Americans are the illegal criminals, and the illegals are are the real people, the valuable people. Because when I was at a hotel, they asked for my ID, and put it through some sort of weird screening thing. But the Mexican guy who didn't understand English, didn't have his ID, didn't matter. And I'm just like, oh, okay, all right, just double standard. And I know my liberal friends and family would be like, yeah, and that's the way it should be. Americans should be held to a different standard. We should be treated like criminals, but the illegal should have a carte blanche. Just give them everything. So that was weird. But I guess, like, Americans just walked away from God, and we're getting the punishment that is deserved. So yeah. So if you're taking Greyhound, or know somebody who is, I recommend, don't take Greyhound. Try to get a plane. Try to take the train. And I know it's hard because Greyhound is the only one that goes to certain locations, and there's no airport or um, train service a lot of places. But I would try not to do Greyhound. It's tolerable in a pinch, but just saying, you're sleep deprived and nutrition deprived, and there's con artists out there that just are very sophisticated manipulators, and just beyond your game, especially if you're like a really naive, nice person. Like, just be warned. So, what do you guys think? Thanks for watching. God bless.